Hi everybody, fantastic to see you all again. In this video, what I want to do is talk all about Instagram and how you can upload your photos to Instagram and get amazing results. Okay, on with the 5 tips. There's 5 simple steps, and the first one is the most important, and it's a bit of a shocker really. So it is all about resizing your image to get the best quality when you upload it to Instagram. So I do all my resizing and exporting in Lightroom, and what I do is I post my images usually an aspect ratio of 5:4, which is the tallest height that you can get on your feed on Instagram. And I like taking the most spaces that I can when somebody's scrolling through, because it's more likely that they're going to see my photo. So I crop it to 5:4 aspect ratio. Even if I've got a landscape shot like this one here, I crop it to 5:4. Now the maximum size that Instagram shows is 1080 by 1350, which is that 5:4 aspect ratio. But you don't want to upload it at that resolution. What you want to do is upload it much bigger, because if you think about it, when you upload it to Instagram, Instagram does 2 things. It resizes it if it has to, and it compresses it. So obviously if you upload something that's 1080 by 1350, which is what Instagram recommends, then all it does is just compress that. So it just makes it a smaller image file, but it doesn't change the dimensions. If you upload something bigger, which is what I'm recommending you do, then what it does is it takes that image and it resizes it and compresses it at the same time. And I've done loads of tests on this, of all these images. You can see the results here, and it can guarantee you that it makes a big difference if you upload it at a higher resolution to begin with. What I recommend, what I think works best, is actually the biggest image resolution that you can export at, but you don't see a measurable difference anything above 3000 pixels on the longest edge. And I'll explain how I export at that size in the next tip, but that's what you need to do. Okay, so let's go in and have a look at the computer, and I'll show you how I export it from Lightroom at that size. So the first thing that you need to do is go into export your image from Lightroom. The reason I like doing it from Lightroom is I just have more control over everything. I've not picked a color space yet. I'm still dealing with a raw image, and I'm only making a decision now of what I'm going to do with that raw image. So you can see I've got some presets here. I'm not going to go into detail of how I set up those presets. There's a video I did here about that, but I chose my Instagram one, and basically that creates something that's ideal for Instagram. So what it does is it exports it as JPEG sRGB, which is a color space you want to export it at for displaying things on the web. I'm limiting the file size to 3 megabytes, which is fine, and then I'm resizing it to 3500 by 3500 pixels. I said 3000, you want it 3500. And then I use the sharpen for screen. Okay, so I've exported it. What's the next step? And that's getting it on my phone so that I can edit it again and then upload it to Instagram. So what I usually do is, because I have Apple products, is AirDrop, or if I'm using my Google Pixel, I'll use Android file transfer. And once I've got it on my phone, then I edit it in something called Snapseed, which is a really good editing tool. And the reason I edit it on my phone, just do that final edit on my phone, is that the edit that I've done in Lightroom is usually the edit that I like for any printed images. And I know that's going to be slightly different than what people are going to view on their screen. So I open it up in Snapseed, and then what I do is I play around with maybe the color and just to try and give it a bit more punch. This gives me an idea of the size it's going to look like. Sometimes I just zoom in a little bit like that so I can see exactly what it's going to look like when it's on Instagram. And then I think, okay, has that got enough punch to it? Because obviously the printed image is going to be much bigger than this, but on Instagram it's quite small. So I then go and do some editing. So Snapseed's great. Again, I'm not going to go into this tool too much, but one of the things that I do quite a lot is I just go and select certain areas. So in this case, I'm just going to select this bit here. I'm going to increase the brightness and increase the contrast. So I just want to give that a bit more punch, and I'm going to reduce the structure. And then I might just try and give the grasses a little bit more punch as well. So I'm just going to select the grasses, increase the brightness and contrast and saturation and structure. And then if I'm happy with that, then I will then go and export it. So I'll just go export and save a copy usually, and that saves a copy of that file on my phone, which I can then upload to Instagram. Okay, so let's go to Instagram. So going to Instagram, I click upload, and I go and find that image there. Now the key thing when you're uploading an image to Instagram is you get these two little arrows at the bottom left. It will default to a square image, so it'll just take a crop of your image and just default to a square image. But if you click that, then it'll resize it, so it's that 4:5 aspect ratio. And that's what I want. That's going to then look the best on the screen. So I'm happy with that. That looks fantastic. And I don't apply filters because I've done all the editing in Snapseed, so I don't need to do anything with that. So then the only other thing I'll do is write a caption and do some tags. And that's really important. So to get your image seen by lots of people, there are a few things that you need to do in Instagram to make that work. And the most important thing, more important than anything else, is just the quality of the image. You've got to have a good quality image. It's got to stand out in all the feed so that somebody's going to click on it, hopefully double tap on it, and even better, write a comment on it. And what I find is, for me, the best thing to get people to look at your image and engage in your image is actually writing some text on it, telling people about the image, why you took it, maybe tell them a little bit about the settings. And after all, it's a collaboration platform. People are more likely to spend more time looking at that image and reading the description. I found that when I started writing good descriptions, my engagement with people and comments and Instagram likes that went up. And then from a point of hashtagging your image then that's hit and miss. I have to be honest, I'd say only about between 2 or 3%, and maybe my best images get 7 or 8% of the views or impressions from hashtags. The best thing with hashtags is to actually go for hashtags that relate to the size of your audience. So don't try and use the hashtag like moodigrams or landscape photography on your image if you've only got 1,000 followers. That's just not going to work. If you've got 1 million followers, then maybe you're going to get engagement from those hashtags. Even better is the hubs, and these are hashtags like Stay and Wonder or Earth Outdoors or things like this. These are pages that have been set up by communities that share the best quality images related to that topic. There's loads of them. You can go and find them if you just go and search for Instagram hubs or Instagram communities around landscape photography. You'll find loads and loads of them. If you hashtag them, then people are going to go through your feed, go through that feed of hashtags, find an image that they like, and then share that on their profile. And that will make a much bigger difference than you just throwing loads of random hashtags down there.
Okay, before I go, I haven't forgot the results of the Hash 2020 ND competition that I'm running sort of midweek every week. And this week was water, and I had, again, thousands of entries, which was ridiculous, or over 1,000 entries. So I've had a look at these. I mean, they are so incredible. So these are just the shortlisted ones, and they are so incredible. I just wanted to highlight a few that I thought were really, really good. So I thought this was nice, of this just lovely toned water here. I really like that. This was quite interesting, different sort of take on water, but I like it. Would have done well in next week's competition, which I'll tell you in a minute. And this was a fantastic shot of this swan here and in the water, and there's some great images of sort of different takes on water which were just amazing. But there was one that stood out to me, and it was this one here from Lewis, and it is a shot, I think it's in the Peak District actually, which is amazing because it's difficult to take shots in the Peak District of the water here. We don't have a lot of lakes, mostly reservoirs. This is a reservoir called Ladybower Reservoir. But what I really liked about this was just the atmosphere, the way that you use the people in the shot to create a little bit of scale of the lake and the trees and the mountain in the background. But I really like the texture on the lake and the way that the texture where the boat is changing. I think that just adds that extra something. It sort of draws you into the image. It tells you a little bit more about the image. So well done, Lewis. I really like that. And next week's competition is going to be abstract. So anything to do with abstract. It doesn't have to be landscape photography, any abstract shot. So what I'd recommend is just trying to look at things in a different way, maybe look at the patterns on leaves, like that water shot, that droplet shot that I showed you with those droplets on that surface. Maybe look at how things are just interacting in the morning, the dew on the grass and things like that. But just try and use observation and see what you can get. And use the hashtag on Instagram, #2020ND, and next week I'll look through them and announce a winner. Okay, thanks ever so much for watching, everybody, and until Sunday, bye. Just before I go, just got to show you this. It's pretty cool.
Say something like you love me and make my day, like you always do, like you always do.